In every corner of Africa, stories breathe, tales buried in dust, whispered through firelight. You're about to hear one of them. Welcome to African Horror Stories. Algerian Folklore. The Desert Bride Who Calls Your Name. There are roads in southern Algeria that do not appear on maps, not because they are secret, but because they are no longer supposed to exist. Youssef ibn Khalid had been driving for 6 hours when he realized the landmarks were wrong. The rock formations he remembered passing at dawn were gone. The radio had dissolved into static so complete it felt intentional, like something had closed a door. The Sahara stretched endlessly in every direction, pale gold under a sky stripped of mercy. The heat pressed against his chest, not violently, but persistently, as if reminding him that it could win whenever it chose. The engine died without warning. No sputter, no struggle, just silence. Youssef stepped out of the truck. The air felt wrong, too still. The wind had vanished, and with it the soft hiss of sand moving on itself. Even his own breathing sounded intrusive. That was when the desert spoke. Youssef. Not shouted, not whispered, spoken the way someone says your name when they already know the answer. As a boy, Youssef once traveled with an old Tuareg guide named Amastan. The man had a face carved by sun and patience, his eyes always scanning horizons no one else noticed. One night, by a fire that barely held back the dark, Amastan said, "The desert listens, and sometimes it answers." Youssef laughed then. He was young enough to think laughter protected him. Amastan had shaken his head. "If you hear your name spoken where no one stands, do not answer. Pretend you were never given one." Names were not labels, they were keys. Standing beside his dead truck, Youssef remembered this too late. The voice came again. Youssef ibn Khalid. His throat tightened. No one in the south used his father's name anymore. It was old, intimate, dangerous. He stayed silent. The sand shifted. Moonlight crept over the dunes, turning the desert into a pale sea of bone. Youssef turned slowly, heart pounding against his ribs, and saw her standing at the crest of a dune. A woman, barefoot, wrapped in white cloth that did not flutter, did not stir, did not belong to the night air around it. She was close enough that he could see the smooth curve of her cheek, the dark line of her eyes. Beautiful in a way that felt deliberate, like something shaped to be admired rather than born. She smiled. "You look lost," she said. Her voice was calm, kind, familiar in the way dreams sometimes are. Youssef's mouth went dry. "There is water," she continued, gesturing beyond the dune. "Shade. You don't need to suffer." He noticed then what was wrong. Her feet did not touch the sand. There were no footprints leading to her, none beneath her. The desert had erased even the idea of her passing. Among the nomads she has many names, but the oldest is El Arûsa, the bride. Long before borders and flags, when tribes sealed alliances with blood and fear, women were buried alive at the edges of settlements, married not to men, but to land. Their bodies pressed into sand to claim territory, to quiet rival spirits. The desert absorbed them, and in return it gave them patience. El Arûsa appears when travelers are weakest, at dusk, when thirst dulls judgment, when loneliness becomes loud. She never chases, she only invites. "I can help you," she said, stepping closer without moving. Her father would not leave you like this. Yusuf could smell jasmine on her breath, flowers that had no right to exist within 1,000 kilometers. His canteen was empty, his tongue stuck to the roof of his mouth. "Who are you?" he asked, voice cracking. Her smile widened just enough to show teeth too perfect to trust. "I am what waits." She extended her hand. Her fingers shimmered as though moonlight passed through them before touching skin. Behind her, the desert stretched darker, deeper, endlessly welcoming. Yusuf thought of Amastan, of the firelight, of the rule. If the desert speaks your name, pretend you forgot it. He turned away from El Arûsa and began to walk. Each step felt heavier than the last. The darkness swallowed him, stripping away direction, sound, sense. He did not know where he was going, only where he could not go. Behind him, the desert laughed. It was not loud, it was satisfied. Yusuf walked until his stars blurred, until his legs buckled and his thoughts fractured. Time became meaningless, night bled into day, day into fever.
He heard her voice again and again, calling, pleading, promising. Sometimes she sounded angry, sometimes she sounded lonely, sometimes she sounded like his mother. He never answered. 3 days later, a group of nomads found him near an abandoned well, alive, barely. They noticed immediately what was wrong. He cast no shadow. He refused water until nightfall. When asked his name, he stared at the dunes and said nothing. They took him back to their camp, fed him slowly, watched him with fear threaded through their kindness. At night, Yusuf slept outside, facing the desert, listening. Yusuf never spoke again, never married, never crossed into the deep south. He lived long, but not fully. His eyes were always turned toward horizons others avoided. Sometimes, when the wind died completely, the nomads heard him whisper a name into the sand. Not his own. Hers. Even now, truckers in southern Algeria warn each other. If a woman calls your full name in the desert, do not answer. If she offers you water, refuse. If she smiles, run. Because El Arûsa does not hunt the living. She waits for those ready to leave it behind. And the Sahara never forgets a name once it learns it.
That's all for today. If you liked the video, let me know by hitting like. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe for more. You can watch another video of mine right here. See you next time.